Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to wrap up today with the special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's comes at us from Childra, Esprit D'Air Leviathan. So that's what we're going to dive into today. I've never heard of Esprit D'Air before, at least I don't think so. This song's 5 minutes long. We do have a music video to go along with it. Let's dive in, see what they're bringing to the table with Leviathan. So metal as a foundation, using the guitars and the drums to fill out the atmosphere for the synths to really take lead. Are those the lyrics? It'll be interesting to check out a translation later. That synth arpeggiation is the same one that was present in the verse, right? Oh, maybe it was the intro. The pre-verse, yeah. Maybe also the verse, there's just little texture differences throughout. They call a response on the vocals. Nice build up here to take us into the final chorus. back to the bridge breakdown. Okay. All right. Yeah, this is some solid modern alternative metal. I think we could call this I'd say as far as how this is all built up, a majority of this track is fairly straightforward drumming. We always have a nice cymbal on every downbeat in order to give us the pulse of the song. But we have the energy being driven by the bass kicks and the snare. The snare gives us backbeat hits on most of this. And the drums have those digga 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 da. Digga digga da, digga 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 digga. It's like this energy, right? Pushing forward. The guitars and the bass guitar are chords all of the time. There are two deviations from this. The breakdown is just a chord, and then there's the solo, which is finally a place for the guitarist to take a lead spotlight moment. Beyond that, we have the synths that exist much higher in placement than the rest of the metal band, which is a bit quieter, less emphasized. The synths are constantly arpeggiating. They are expanding on the harmonic information, giving us moving ideas, but not necessarily melodic ideas, because the lead melody is consistently given to the vocals. And the melodies in here are catchy. Really strong vocal work here, great vocal writing. The hooks are strong. Nothing that particularly stood out to me. A lot of it feels a bit more iterative of a very modern alternative metal, but it's done exceptionally well too. I have no complaints about it. And this is what makes up the track. The verses, the choruses, the breakdown, they're all built on this idea of metal as a texture, the synthesizer as like ornamentation, and the vocals as our lead melody. It feels like a metal track, but it isn't a metal song. The guitar isn't the centerpiece of the track. And this is why I think it fits under the alternative metal umbrella, but definitely the poppier aesthetic and focus on vocals and synths over the metal bands. That definitely leans into that and is a very modern implementation of the metal sounds. Now, there are a couple of things, though, that do deviate a bit. We do have a fairly straightforward verse, chorus, bridge, chorus idea. The intro of the track also leads us into the second verse, so we can kind of view that as a pre-intro. Very efficient writing there. And we also see this for the outro, which is a reuse of the bridge breakdown. So even moving beyond just looking at when the vocals appear, we can also see that the intro and the outro are not new ideas. They're reused from other places in the track in order to create efficient writing. But we do see some deviations from this typical structure too. The second verse is not the first verse. And I really enjoyed this. They added some variation to it, and it caused me to miscall something in the track where we had this almost extended buildup that felt more like a bridge. You'll notice the first verse is rather flat. We have the drums, we have the guitars playing the chords, we have the synth arpeggiation, and we have the vocals. And that's pretty much it from start to finish. We have our chord progression, the vocal melody pulls us through the 16 bars that it is. And that's it. That's the entirety of the first verse. The second verse is more dynamic though. It has higher energy sections, it has lower energy sections, it has a general rising buildup towards the end of it. I said something along the lines of, and this is building us into our final chorus, because I actually mistook that for the bridge. I thought we were doing a verse chorus, bridge chorus idea. And I was quite surprised when the second chorus was over and the song kept going. And I looked at the time and I realized there's probably still another minute and a half or two left in the track. I knew it was 5 minutes when we started. That that caught me off guard a little. Like I said, the second verse is different. It's unique. It doesn't take the static approach. And not only that, but it is its own idea. It starts off very similar to the first verse, but quickly deviates from that, dipping away from it and focusing on new riffs, new drum parts, new vocal lines, and new synth ideas. Now, granted, the blueprint for this is the same. The rock band is texture. They're creating a rock feeling or a metal feeling without actually, writing a traditional metal song. There's no riffs here. It's all chordal based still. The synth is providing the forward movement on the instrumental part, and the vocals are providing our lead melody. That doesn't change, but the chords we're listening to, the sound of the guitar, the sound of the synth, what the synth is doing, and the vocal melody are all different and evolving too. And we have this generally rising pitch and also volume on this synth, this electronic sound on the background of all of this. And that pushes us towards the end, which takes us into the verse. The second chorus. So I really appreciate that. I do wish that same approach would have been taken to the choruses here, and all three of the choruses could have deviated a little bit and done their own thing. Something I've said many times in the past, if you're going to make me listen to one section 3 times, you might as well change it up one of those times at least. And we did see a very small shift in the drumming on the final chorus. If I remember correctly, it kicked off, I think the first half or maybe the first quarter of that final chorus was at a slower time feel as we pulled out of the bridge, and then that ramped us into it. So it was a small variation on it, but not a lot. Another melody line, whether it's vocals or the synth or allowing the guitar to play alongside the vocals during that, would have sounded great. And that kind of brings me to my other point of deviation too, which is the bridge, a chance for the guitar to shine, to take on a new, thinner, more direct spotlight role with its guitar tone and play a pretty cool solo. I mean, it was more on the spectacle side of solo writing, so I can't say that it was necessarily a favorite of mine, but it was nice to hear the guitars do something a little different. And melodically, looking at it from a compositional angle, that was very different from any of the moving ideas that the synth does or the melodies that the vocals have. It was nice to have something a bit quicker pace to ramp up the intensity in this moment. And I find it really interesting that we take all this extra time feel. I mean, we have this guitarist just shredding over here, and then we reduce that down to the breakdown. I don't want to say that was a bad idea. There's no such thing as bad ideas in music, in any art, honestly, but I don't understand it. I think this song does a pretty good job of rising and falling energy, but this is taking us to an energetic peak of the track, and then we bottom that energy out completely and never quite return to it. And it feels just a little odd to me. I would have really liked if we had maybe started with the breakdown and then moved into the solo that could take us to an elevated final chorus and have a nice ramping up of energy to a peak to cap the song off. Even moving down to the breakdown to wrap up the song, I thought would have worked fine too, even with this swapped bridge. But I do enjoy that it is something different. It does present something in the track that has a little bit of contrast to it and gives an instrument some spotlight that it didn't have previously, while also adjusting the pacing of the track. That all works fairly well. I don't know that I have anything else to say about this, though. It is a very straightforward, mainstream, adjacent metal track, and through that lens, it does play its role a bit closer to iteration rather than innovation. And I think that this might be, especially because of the music video, something that is interesting because of the lyrical side, the story it wants to tell, more so than the musical component, which I don't really have a lot to add to. So let's dive into some lyrics and see what's going on there. All right, lyrically, this looks like it is about understanding that life has cycles and that even when things are looking grim, that there is rebirth possibly around the corner, or at least something positive, although this track does specifically look at life, death, and rebirth. It starts off and says, unforgettable in a world turned monochromatic, unanswered prayers, and a conflict is born again. Talks about hearing a voice that they can't see and can't touch, but they hear it repeating itself over and over. The first chorus kicks in, says, even if those days of love are completely transformed, there is still light, and we are still waiting for the dawn. The next time we come to this chorus, there's actually a small shift to it. It says, even if that world I loved is completely transformed, there is still light because the dawn is here. We're not waiting for the dawn. It is now here. And this comes after a verse that talks about a deserted city, yet life still sprouting from the rubble. That the sorrow remains unfaded, but that the next season will come through again. So right now, things are bad, but something better is around the corner. This is just how life works. It wraps up, seemingly referring back to that voice it heard previously in the track, and says, we will meet again in a new place, reborn in a dazzling season. Now, who the we is in this case, I'm not sure. Maybe there's more context to this. Maybe the music video has answers. Maybe there's other music videos connected to this one to form a larger story. I don't know. But the ideas in here are rather clear about not letting the negative elements of right now get you down, because even within rubble, life sprouts. There is always something positive around the corner, and when you are feeling dead inside, life will spring from that. It's a song ultimately about hope, that tomorrow is better than today, because historically, tomorrow does get better than today. But these are just my thoughts on Esprit D'Air's Leviathan. What did you think of this track, though? Is there anything that stood out to you? Anything that you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Do you have your own take, perspective, or opinion on this song? Please put all of that, as well as anything else you'd like to, into the comment section below. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. It takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.